When I first started school a long time ago, things were very different in first and second grade than they are now. I started school in the first grade. There was no kindergarten or preschool. During the first and second years of school, I attended farm or rather rural school. For those of you who may not know what farm school is, it was a school for farmers' kids. The school was a one-room building, which actually had two cloakrooms too. There were two outdoor outhouses far enough away to ensure that little kids with small bladders would wet their pants before they got there. There was a barn for the horses and cows that some of the kids rode to school. Grades 1 through 8 were taught in the same building at the same time. If you remember Little House on the Prairie with Laura Ingalls Wilder, she went to school like that and later was the teacher. This was North Dakota, and things were a little backwards in the late 50s. My parents spoke mostly German, so when I started school, I only knew German. The teacher happened to be a relative and also spoke German. She taught me English and told my folks to speak mostly English around me so I'll learn it better. And I did in a short time. She was a great teacher, and to be able to teach all those grades, you have to be. I have to admit, I was teacher's pet. Sometimes the older kids had to teach the younger kids their lessons, since the teacher was always busy with different lessons for so many grades. The older kids usually did their best to teach the lessons and sometimes taught the younger kids things they weren't supposed to teach. As an example, one day at recess, one of the older boys said to me, "Dennis, you know where babies come from?" And I said, "No, I really never gave it much thought." He says, "Well, when a man and a woman like each other, they go off by themselves," and he whispered the rest of my ear, and I said, "What? No way, that can't be true. That's gross. I'm getting sick just thinking about it. Oh, I'll have to go to the outhouse and puke." Please like and subscribe. What? You won't? Well, I'm going to tell my big brother. Yeah. He'll get you. Yeah. You wait and see. Yeah. School was tough for me. One day in first grade, I was outside for recess. I happened to walk too close to the swings. The kid on the swing couldn't stop in midair, so I got clobbered on the side of my head. The swing was made of a wooden board and a chain, which gave a pretty big gash on the side of my head. The teacher drove me to my parents' farm in a panic, and my parents drove me to town to see the doctor in a panic, and I got stitches. I don't remember much how I was out, but I still have a scar here somewhere to remind me not to walk too close to swings. In farm school, we had a school play, and I got a part in it. Do you remember the story of a troll who lives under a bridge and three goats who want to cross the bridge one by one? The troll wants to eat the first one, but he convinces the troll that the next goat is bigger and fatter, will make a better meal. He crosses, the next goat comes along, and same thing. He tells the troll about the next, much bigger, fatter goat, and the troll lets him cross the bridge. The biggest goat came along. The troll wants to eat him, but the big goat butts him with his horns. The troll falls down a hill and dies. I had the part of the troll. So at the end of the play, I fell off the stage. It was a low stage, and really hammed up my death scene, making dying noises, flopping around, holding my heart, having one last breath. It was great. I think I remember the audience, all the parents, giving me a standing ovation. Remember I mentioned the outhouses that were pretty far from the schoolhouse for little kids with little bladders? There were several incidents which would embarrass those kids now when they're grown up. I recall one time one of my fellow first graders asked if he can go out to the outhouse. We could all see him out the windows running across the playground, making a beeline for the restroom. All of a sudden he stopped. He stood there a little while, turned around, and slowly walked back to the schoolhouse. He came in the cloakroom entrance and peeked around the doorway to the classroom and said, "Psst, teacher." She went back with him into the cloakroom. There was a potbelly coal stove in the back corner of the classroom. The teacher came out and put wet underwear and pants on the stove to dry out. For the rest of the afternoon, that poor kid had to sit in his desk draped with a blanket until his clothes dried. You know, come to think of it, I seem to remember sitting in my desk once draped with a blanket. Then in second grade, the kids decided to play Crack the Whip. It was this sadistic game where the kids line up and hold hands. The point was you never let go of anyone's hand unless you're about to bite the dust. On one end were the bigger kids, and going on down the line were the littler kids. The bigger kids would start running, and when the whole line was running as fast as they can, the bigger kids would suddenly stop. This worked like a whip action on down the line, and everyone tried to stop too, but they ended up being whipped out like the end of a whip, thus the name Crack the Whip. We took off running, the bigger kids skidded to a stop, and I, being one of the littler kids, got whipped out and went flying, probably about as high as that old swing that hit me the year before. I landed hard and rolled right into a snow well by one of the outhouses. My head hit the corner of the outhouse. The corner had a finger-sized piece of wood sticking out. Just my luck, the top of my forehead hit it. I was knocked out. My cousin Dean, who was 4 years older than me, called to me and asked me if I'm all right. When I didn't answer, him and another kid pulled me out of the snow well. Dean saw the dent in my cap, so he pushed it up. Blood came gushing out. He pushed the cap back down, and him and the other kid dragged me back to the schoolhouse. I woke up seeing the ground and with snow moving and my feet dragging. Why is somebody dragging me? The teacher saw the dent in my cap, pushed it up, and blood came gushing out. She gave me a towel to hold on my head, drove me to my parents' farm in a panic. My parents drove to town in a panic to see the same doctor. The doctor said, "You again?" Of course, stitches again, too. For a couple weeks after that, my cousin Dean had fun torturing me. He'd make me laugh, which pulled on my stitches, and I go, ha ha, and hold my head. It provided hours of entertainment for Dean. He was disappointed when the stitches came out. Maybe you can still see the scar here up my upper forehead. My badge of courage for making it through farm school with just about everything on my body intact. Believe it or not, up until then, I liked school. Then third grade happened, and I started to learn to really dislike school. Between the year of my second and third grade, the school district moved the rural school buildings to town, and the grades were separated by class. Now the town and the farm kids were in the same school. Our class had a different teacher, and I wasn't the teacher's pet anymore. Watch my next video of why I really did not like grade school.